Good morning.
Good morning, Valley. How are you?
Good. So, everyone, we have Hazel Carter, who won Inspirational Author Award from Ladies First Professional Development. That's exactly where we met at Ladies First Professional Networking. Hazel today is going to be talking about her book, Life's Good, a true story consisting of 350 pages, available directly from Hazel at lifesgood.co.uk. And all proceeds, incidentally, go to charity. Hey there, Hazel, how are you?
I'm fine,
Tell
thank you,
us about
Valley.
you. Tell us about yourself.
Okay, well, I'm 66. I live in Solihull. And up until my husband died 4.5 years ago, I was very happily married to a wonderful chap, Alan. But he got motor neurone disease, and that's what ended his life. I used to be a director of a business before he became ill. Now, as you said, I'm a published author. I do a lot of public speaking, and I'm on a mission to raise £20,000 for three charities. And if people go onto my website, lifesgoodbook.co.uk, they'll read all about it.
Hmm. So tell us, before Life's Good, had you written a book before?
No, not at all. I think, like a lot of people, I'd wondered, during my life if I could write a book. I'd been thinking about it on a couple of occasions, but no, I never managed it really. I was working full time and it just never happened. But this happened, and so I have written one now.
Okay. And what caused you to write this book now?
Well, basically, when Alan got MND, obviously my life changed completely. I went from being a working woman to becoming a carer and a nurse. Um, and I started journaling the whole time I was ill. I was journaling. I'd never done journaling before, but it just sort of helped me. I was putting down my thoughts and feelings every single day, all the things that happened every single day, lots and lots of people coming into our home, medical people, etc., friends, family. And I literally just wrote about it. And then when I used to blog on Facebook and places like that, and lots of people started to say to me, you should consider writing a book. So it wasn't my idea, this one. And so I had a chat with Alan. He was probably, at the time, he was 3 or 4 months away from passing away. And I said, look, lots of people have said I should consider writing a book. What do you think? And he said, yeah. He said, I want people to know what this is like for me and for you as a carer. So I basically had his blessing, and that's how it all came about.
Yeah. And where did you start?
Well,
Where
the
does one?
book covers 18 months of Alan's life. And all the challenges of all the wonderful ups and downs and all the adventures that we had during that period, which was a bit of an emotional roller coaster. But we wanted to make the best of a bad job. So um, I started the actual story in the book with a bit of backstory about us so that people understood the context of how this disease affected us. So there's a little
Mm,
bit about me, a little bit about Alan, a little bit about how we met, which was quite romantic, and a little bit
mm,
about our lives together, really, before he got ill. And then I basically started the journey pretty much from the point of diagnosis, and it is done in a diary format, so it flows and it's easy to read, because it's, people can pick it up and put it down. So that was it,
yeah,
really.
absolutely. And I've read it, and yes, I can say that it's certainly emotional and beautifully written. How long did it take, Hazel?
um well, I started it pretty much after Alan died in 2019, but it took me 3 years because I couldn't work on it full time. I needed to stop and start. There were moments where it would obviously make me relive some of the more painful memories. So um, I ended up having to take quite a lot of breaks. Whereas I think if people are writing, say, a novel or a crime story or something, then they're
Mm.
obviously using their own imagination. I had all my journals to kind of more or less transcribe into a book. Um, so that was how long it took, 3 years in the end.
Mm. And so much that would have come up as you're writing it as well. Yes.
Mm.
And how do you go about it?
Well, it probably take me a good hour and a half to explain everything about how I went about it. But here are some sort of key elements. The first thing I did was, because I'd never written a book before, I'd always read a lot of true stories. I'm a mad fan of true story books. And I was lucky enough that I knew a couple of people who'd written their own memoirs slash, true stories. So I consulted with them. So I spent time chatting to other authors, and that was really, really helpful. Um, and then I basically locked myself away. Not long after Alan died, I went down to Devon. I took my laptop. In fact, I took his laptop, not my laptop, and I took all my
Mm.
journals. Um, and I started to work on it then. And obviously, then what happened was COVID. He died in June of 2019, and COVID came in the March, didn't it? And everybody
Mm.
had lots of time on their hands at that point. I'd already stopped work to look after him, so I wasn't in any way working at that point. So
Mm.
I spent the majority of lockdown doing this. And
Mm.
at first, I used to type everything literally on the laptop. And somebody then said to me, "You do know how to use your phone to dictate, don't you?" And I thought, oh gosh, no. So when I learned how to use my phone, how to dictate, that made life so much easier. I could get on with it a lot faster. I remember being on holiday with a girlfriend, and she was a bit of a late bird. She didn't get up first thing in the morning. So I would get up first thing in the morning, have some breakfast, and then I'd be walking up and down in the corridors and inside the hotel with my phone, actually just dictating the book, which was quite nice. In fact, I've got some quite happy memories of the different places I dictated it. But I did actually manage over that 3 years. I managed to create a bit of a monster because initially the whole thing was 176,000 words.
Wow.
So,
Wow. Yes. And did you get any funding?
well, originally I was going to fund the cost of printing myself. Uh, but it was quite a few £1,000s to get 1,500 copies. I decided to have 1,500 copies made. And so somebody again said to me, "Why don't you ask for some help with that?" And I asked a couple of
Mm.
Alan's good friends and a couple of business people I knew. And before I knew it, I got £9,000 together, and that helped me with the cost of printing. But of course, there's a lot more work to do between when you write a book and when you actually go to print. For
Mm.
example, I couldn't afford to have a professional editor of the book.
Mm.
Um, so I asked a good friend of mine who was a teacher, an ex-deputy head teacher, would he mind helping me with the editing
Mm.
process? And he actually got quite excited about the whole project, and he ended up being a slave driver, if you want to call it that. I like to think of him as being a critical friend slash coach, somebody who, when I
Mm.
was flagging, somebody when I'd lost the motivation or I'd taken my eye off the ball, he was
Mm.
brilliant at just saying, "Come on, Hazel, you're doing this book for a good reason. It's important to get it out there." And he basically drove me when I found it, when I was getting a bit sort of like lost, I think. And I also used several other friends to act as proofreaders. So I did this whole thing on practically a zero budget because I didn't have any money really. But eventually, when you've written it and you've had a few people look at it, you sooner or later need somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't know your story, to go through it. So I did find two people who I didn't know who were willing for nothing, because this was a charity piece of work. Two people who'd already written books of their own, actually went through the soft copy. This was the online version. They went through the whole thing, and they gave me all sorts of suggestions and suggested edits. The other person who went through the whole thing was my forward writer. Actually, finding someone to write the forward was not an easy project in its own right. But the forward writer as well was kind enough to read the whole thing before she wrote the forward. And she acted as a bit of an editor as well, so that was quite handy. So,
Yeah, having people supporting makes a huge
yeah,
difference.
yeah, yeah.
And what were the hardest parts for you, would you say?
Oh, well, what's really hard is for a book like this is the emotional battles. You know, when you're writing about something that was so difficult to experience in real life,
Mm.
it did stir up a lot of sad emotions in me. But that was always going to be the case, and I was very keen to make sure the book itself wasn't a sad book. It needed to be inspirational, it needed to be educational. So it's quite hard trying to soften the sad bits and make the book a little bit lighter. Um, Also, you have to come up with a title, you have to come up with a book cover design, you have to decide on um, your fonts, you have to decide on what your website's going to look like if you're going to have one. You've got to think about your pricing. That was quite difficult. Um, I could go on for hours about the things that I had to decide and the things I had to do. Um, I guess some of the hard stuff was thinking about, okay, when I've read it, when I've written it and it's edited and it's printed, how am I going to get it out there? You know, you have to suddenly become a marketing person. I was lucky I had marketing experience. But if you don't have marketing experience, you're going to need some serious thought on how you're going to get it out there. I mean, obviously, a lot of people use Amazon. It wasn't practical for me to use Amazon or even go to a publisher because they wanted to take a lot of money. And I didn't want any of the money going to anybody other than the charities. So for me, I probably made my life a bit harder because I wanted to raise so much money. So in the end of the day, I ended up doing pretty much everything. And as you go through a journey like this, you do learn a lot. I mean, I discovered, for example, apart from needing an ISBN number, which is the little number on the back of every book that you buy in a shop, it's a
Mm.
legal requirement to send a copy of your book to the British Library, which I didn't know that. But hey, you find these things out as you go along. It's all a bit of a learning curve. Have you ever written a book,
So
by the way? Have you written a book?
I I haven't, and it is one of my goals for 2024. So it is definitely one of my goals. So this is speaking to you is inspiring me to do precisely that and learning that yes, you need these legal requirements. So thank
Yeah,
you for sharing that.
no, you're welcome.
And what and what parts did you enjoy most, would you say?
Um, well, I think when I was talking to people about what I wanted to do and I saw their reaction. I mean, I've got in my house, I've got all sorts of memories of Alan. Here's Alan, by the way. This is my cuddle cushion. I used to go to people and just say, you know Alan, you love Alan. Um, I'm trying to do this book. And what was fun or what was beautiful, I would say, is the reaction I got from people. So many people and it was 5 people in the end who put this £9,000 in my bank account. That was a nice part of the job. There was a lot of warmth and love. That gave me a bit of a lift up. Um, the website was fun to do because obviously you get the chance in the book itself. I'll just show you a copy of it in the book itself. There it is. Life's good. It's the disease that's the problem. And it says underneath an inspirational true story about living well with a terminal disease. Um,
Mm.
Getting that book cover design was fun because we started off wanting a red and black one, which was Alan's football team colours. And I was kind of hell bent on making sure this reflected Alan. And I went
Mm.
out to a bunch of friends with some design ideas for the book cover. And I got a resounding, oh my gosh, no, that looks terrible. So I had to go back to the drawing board. And it was quite good fun thinking about, I mean, we wanted to put this photograph on the back, which is the very last picture that was taken of the two of us. And I wanted this one on the front because that was the last time Alan went skiing. He was quite a sportsman. And that was the day we gave up skiing, or he did, I carried on. And we went and had a lovely lunch. And that picture was a happy day in the scheme of things. But inside also, I've got lots of other photographs. I've got 30 photographs inside. And picking all those photographs was nice because it gave me the chance to look back over some of these wonderful memories. The other thing that was lovely was deciding on the packaging, because I didn't, people order this through my website, as I've said, and I wanted it to look lovely when they received it. So I've got an example here of how mine look when they go out the door. So they've got, they're in a big white box, got a little silver heart and a nice label. And when people open them up, this is what they see inside, which is a book that's all wrapped up in tissue paper. And again, that's got a little heart on it there. And I also have made these little, what are these called? Bookmarks, which say, life's good, and it's got Hazel and a kiss on it. And I found all that side of it really great fun, deciding on how I wanted it to look. And I've had so many fabulous comments from people when they open up their books and they write to me and they go, oh, it was beautifully packaged. You know, that gives me a lot of warmth. And I think the other thing I read quite a lot, and somebody did this to me, they said the hard work is obviously getting it produced, but somebody did say to me partway through, the fun starts when you can start promoting it. And I have actually loved doing public speaking. I'm amazed at how much I enjoy public speaking. And I'm very fortunate I get invited to talk to places. So I love talking about Alan, not just about the book, but I love talking about our lives together and the challenges we went through. And so, but every time I do a talk, people just want to purchase the book, and they often share their personal stories with me as well, which is quite heartening. So those are the lovely fun parts for me.
Absolutely, and that's what that's how we connected when you gave that talk, and you and I got chatting.
Yes.
That's precisely where it happened. And how have sales gone?
Well, as I said, my original decision was to have 1,500 printed. That was quite a hard decision because I thought, do I get 500? Do I get 2,000? Of course, once you've decided on how many you want printed, you've got to decide about where you're going to store them. And that's another challenge, which I could tell people about another day. So at this stage, I've sold just over 500. I think I'm up to about 510 at the moment. So there's just under 1,000 to go. And when all of them have gone, I think I mentioned this earlier as well, that'll be £20,000 raised. And that's being split 3 ways. Motor Neurone Disease Association get a good chunk of it. The 2 hospices that looked after Alan's, that's Marie Curie Hospice and Myton Hospice in the Warwickshire area. So for me now, it is all about spreading the gospel on the awareness, making sure everybody knows the website address, lifesgoodbook.co.uk, and getting to that £20,000 goal.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. And what's next for you and your book, Hazel?
Well, for me, I think having a few holidays and getting a bit of a downtime, because this year's been fun, but it's been hard work. So I am going to take a few holidays. But in terms of the book, there's already been a bit of a demand from overseas, America and Canada, New Zealand. People have been writing to me, and it's really not practical to send a book like this abroad. So the next big thing, I suppose, will be me creating a Kindle version. I would like to maybe turn it also into an audio book. I've got an actress already lined up who will do it. I've got a recording studio. What I'm looking for is a man with a Sunderland accent, or an actor who can do a nice Sunderland accent to speak Alan's parts. That would be lovely if I could find that. I'd love to find a script writer who would want to turn this book into maybe a TV film. If it got on television, the story would raise so much more awareness. I mean, lots of people are aware of Rob Burrows, Dodgy Weir, and previously Professor Stephen Hawking. But there's a lot of ordinary, everyday people living with motor neurone disease. And so And Alan's an example of that, just a normal bloke who got struck down when he was 62, and didn't live beyond he didn't get to his 65th birthday. So I'd love for this to get onto television. So if there's a script writer out there, and if there's an actor with a Sunderland accent, please get in touch. You can do it through my website. There's a contact the author piece on my website.
Right, brilliant. So yes, yeah, shout out for that, to their sort of scriptwriter and an individual with a Sunderland accent. Brilliant. And what should, so those people who are looking to write their own books, perhaps it's the first time they're doing it, what's the first step? What should people do?
Well, if they're like me and with no experience, they need to talk to somebody who's already done it, who's already got the t-shirt. I'm willing to do that. If people want to have a longer chat with me, I mean, obviously I can't share enough information with you in this short video, but if people want to have a chat with me, very happy for them to do that. I could, for example, give them a one-on-one Zoom session. If they contact me at hazel@lifeisgoodbook.co.uk, that's my email address. I'm very happy to help other new authors, because I got a lot of help when I was doing mine. And I think the other big thing they need to consider is having a coach, someone who can be their overall project manager, who can help them overall keep on track in all the steps they've got to get through, someone who keeps them focused. So I think those are two things they need to do: talk to other authors, including me if they want to, and get themselves someone who's an ally, who sits alongside them, because there are days when it's harder, there are days when you can't feel like it, and you need someone just to prod you a bit. So that would be, I think, the first step, apart from the fact that they've got to come up with whatever their story is in their head, and they've got to think about structure and all sorts of other things. But I'm happy to give an hour of my time to anybody who wants it.
That's beautiful, Hazel. An hour of your time, having done all that and having written, and the journey you've gone through, and the fact that everything you're doing goes towards the charity. 100% of the proceeds go to charity. For those of you who are looking to write a book, want insight from Hazel, go on to lifesgoodbook.co.uk and look at what Hazel's done. Reach out, make that appointment. And for those of you wanting to work with a coach, then reach out to me, Valley Binning, who's a success activator. And thank you for your time. And Hazel, I wish you all the best with this, and beautiful. And thank you so much for sharing what you've done, and what an amazing journey.
Bless you for doing this. It's nice to talk to you again, Valley. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.